Hello and welcome to a very special program. We are at the Serum Institute of India here in Pune. This is where Covishield is manufactured at a rate of production which is absolutely incredible. Adar Poonawalla with us. What are you going to show us over here, Adar?
Nice to have you here, Vishnu. This is one of the production facilities where Covishield is being manufactured. So let's go in and have a look.
All right, let's take a look. We've got foot gear on, we've got head gear on. Well, we're inside the final area where this Covishield is labeled, it's put in boxes and it's distributed. And this is where the beginning of the end of the process, which ultimately results in people being administered the vaccine, starts out. And it's an interesting process. We've got Adar Poonawalla with us. So this is what you'd actually been waiting for such a long time, to see this happening, to see these being shipped out.
Yes, Vishnu, this is the final product. As we've been discussing the quality and how it's filled and packed, this is the final stage where it's being labeled over here on this automated line. And now it's going to be put in these boxes, packaged with cold dogs and cold packs, maintain the temperature. And then it will be dispatched out in refrigerated bags.
And this is interesting, isn't it? I mean, this is where in these trays you've got one tiny batch. You keep talking about batches, right? And then it's going to be boxed as well.
Yes.
And this could end up anywhere in the world.
Yes, you know, we've got supplies going out in the next 2 to 3 weeks to almost, I think, about 30 countries.
Right.
You know, by the end of January, early February. We've just delayed that to ensure that the country in India, our country, gets all the priority and enough vaccines. And as soon as that, as you know, the rollout is imminent now. The trucks have already left their premises now, and so it's all working out on time.
I just want to hold this up to camera once again because there is so much interest in this one tiny vial, right? And this is what it's all about. This is what India has been waiting for, right? Each of these has, what, 10 doses, right?
That's right.
Each of these has 10 doses.
So you can inoculate 10 people, 10 patients. The only point here is that, you know, once you open the vial, you have to use it up in 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
Because of hygiene and puncturing the vial and keeping it open. Because if you have a look over here, once you get rid of this seal, you have a rubber top. When a needle penetrates that, it leaves a tiny gap. So that gap could result in contamination if you leave it open. You know,
so 3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours is generally more than enough time. I mean, the way the vaccine is going to be used, within half an hour or 1 hour, you're probably going to consume 10 doses in a vial. So
let's talk about numbers, because I think that's one of the most fascinating parts of Serum. You know, this is a process that's going on constantly. It's been going on for several hours. It'll keep going on perhaps for months. But the scale is incredible, right? 5,000 doses every minute.
Yes.
Right? 5,000 doses of Covishield. How do you manage that? Every minute.
All those large production lines, which are automated now, can produce and fill 500 vials per minute. And since there are 10 doses in a vial, you get an output of 5,000. Now, we've got 3 shifts working around the clock to do that. And that's why we can get those numbers out. Of course, the next challenge is storing so much of that material, which you'll have a look at also, and dispatching it. Those are now the challenges ahead of us.
You know, there's one thing we haven't spoken about, and that's so important. This is just a normal air-conditioned facility we are in. And had it been some of the other drugs, it wouldn't have been like this. It would have been much more difficult. It's easy to handle this.
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the reasons why we have partnered with some of the firms that we have, AstraZeneca, Novavax, Oxford, all of these, because the vaccine can be stored and handled in +2 to 8. if this was one of the other facilities where you have to handle and keep the vaccine in minus 20 or minus 70 temperatures, super cold temperatures, that would have been very, very difficult, and that does slow down the production a lot as well.
I just want to ask you about what we were discussing earlier, numbers and the scale. Compared to, say, the United States, what you have over here is many times as much, and it's all ready and it's done, right? On a daily basis almost.
Yes, so I mean, we dispatched about 11 million doses in a day, to roll out in India at the moment, and we'll probably end up supplying 40 to 50 million doses over the next 2 months. The US, I think, has reached that figure over a month and a half.
Yeah.
Something that we're able to do here in 3 to 4 days. So that just shows India's capability in doing so, and there are many other Indian vaccine manufacturers as well that can do that. So it's a great moment for India to be able to handle this at scale.
The numbers required in India are obviously huge, but given the pace of manufacture over here, even if you export, the supply to India will not be affected, will it?
Absolutely right. In fact, we've explained that to the government and reassured the Indian public as well that the India supplies will not be at the cost of exports. There'll be plenty of vaccine to go around for everybody.
All right. Let's just move to this last area. This is what's being shipped out, right? Yes, all across
so
India.
This is what we have in a box of 50. So you've got 10 vials here in each of these smaller boxes.
Yeah.
And
there are instructions as well, which I noticed were being put into each of these boxes. What are those instructions? I mean, is there anything extraordinary?
Directions to use. It also sort of guides people on what could happen, what could be the possible reactions. You should be aware. So you've got this in different languages. You've got a lot of the data from the clinical trial results also on the efficacy. So there's actually a lot of information here for people who want to know, how it should be stored, used, even for patients. And as you can see, there's all different languages here because it's going to go to so many different countries. So here, if you look at recommendations for use in pregnant women or women who have just delivered children, and other guidelines. So it's almost like an FAQ and so many other things that a lot of people want to know. But, it's all available ready in one place.
Right.
And this will go out with every vial. So everybody knows what they're getting into, and there's as much information out there as possible.
I must ask you, given this rate of manufacture, why can't we buy it as opposed to waiting for the government to supply it to us?
That's a very good question. The government has decided to first immunize all the healthcare workers, people with medical conditions, the elderly, the most vulnerable.
30 crores.
And as soon as that is done in a month or two, hopefully less than that, they will give us the permissions to go ahead and offer it for private hospital sales in private markets.
1,000 rupees, right?
Yes, that's going to be the MRP. Of course, we'll probably get about half of that because the rest goes into the distribution chain.
1,000 a single dose, right? So 2,000 for the entire course.
Yes. But again, as I said, if we wait for 2.5 to 3 months, we get an efficacy of more than 80%. Even that is explained in this leaflet.
How does that work?
Well, because all vaccines, as you know, the longer you wait between the first shot and the second shot and the booster effect, you need to allow your body to recover and not have cross-reactogenicity from the first and the second shot. So that's why we found even in the Oxford trial overseas that there were 2 different efficacy results.
Yes,
if you remember.
exactly.
So you got that also publicly stated from Pascal, the CEO of AstraZeneca, who said that if you wait for at least 2.5 to 3 months after the first dose, the efficacy is more than 80%.
But right now it's going to be 28 days between doses, right?
No. The recommendation is 4 to 12 weeks. So depending on what you're comfortable with, some people, if they're traveling abroad or have other plans, they may want to take the second shot, be done with it and move on. We're leaving that choice to the...
No, but this is interesting because the government is looking at 28 days, right? For the 30 crores.
No.
They're not.
No.
Oh.
They will go by the guidelines in the packaging insert and what we have explained to them, and it's optional. So
the minimum is 28 days.
yes, the minimum is 28.
The minimum is 28 days, and the optimum now
Optimum,
is
yes,
what?
correct.
Is 3 months?
Yes.
3 months.
Yes.
And if the second dose was delivered at 3 months, you could see upwards of 80% efficacy.
Absolutely, and that's proven in the
In fact,
clinical
upwards of
trial.
90%.
No, 80%.
Upwards of 80%.
And as the final data with more patients comes in, maybe that figure can be revised, going toward 90 and above. But we're very confident in saying it's more than 80% if you wait for 3 months.
Right. For a lot of people wondering, when they eventually get around to buying this drug, how would that happen? They go to the chemist, pick it up, go to the doctor and get it injected, or you can't do that, right?
No, so I'll explain that. We're using the private sector, corporates, private hospitals and other avenues like that, where, for example, a large corporate could buy using their CSR funds or whatever, vaccines for not only their employees, but also for the family members.
Right.
So, you're covering a large amount there. Then you've got private hospitals in other areas and other avenues. There'll be NGOs and other organizations. And of course, eventually, after March or April, it'll be available in every chemist and retail chain. So you could just walk into a shop, buy it, or you go to your doctor and they have, the tie-ups with the stockists and all. So you get the vaccines that way.
This is another facility that we are in right now, Adar. What is this? What are we going to see here?
So this is the bulk manufacturing that we're doing at scale. The COVID-19 vaccine, Covishield, at the moment is being manufactured here, and then will be filled and labeled as you saw, or you will see. Right over here, you can see all the automated machinery that is come from a company, in fact, called Biozine from India. You have different companies providing all these automated.
So this is the Indian components over here as well in terms of the machinery.
Then you've got going over there. If you go in the back, that's a German brand. So you've got a mix of European and Indian machinery here, and you can see all the people here are fully gowned. We can't unfortunately enter there,
right?
But you can get a good idea of what's happening here,
right? I wanted to ask you about costs because after the first 100 million doses, you expect some sort of renegotiation, right? How's that?
We decided in the time of the pandemic to support the government. In fact, the 200 rupee price we've offered is actually substantially below the figures that we wanted to offer as a pricing in terms of cost, because the costing will change as economies of scales pick up.
Right.
At the moment, the cost is upwards of 300 rupees. We've given this as a very special price to the government so that we can roll it out early and make sure all the vulnerable people are protected.
Right.
And we'll make up our profits and returns on the capital investments and OPEX later on when we enter into the private market.
So that's where you would get your ultimate profit margin from. So the private market is important, and your exports.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And would you get into any renegotiation potentially with the government after the first 100 million doses?
Well, I think it's not about negotiation. We've just offered a very reasonable price, and as long as it's the lowest globally, that's being offered $3 to $4, something in that ballpark range, I'm sure it's going to be okay, and they have the budgets to do it. So, it's all looking smooth sailing from here on.
Right. And you believe that all of the vaccines which come into India need to be broadly similarly priced. There is a principal equity here. That can't really be, right? If Pfizer comes here, they cannot sell at 200 rupees.
Well, I hope not, because, it's only from the angle of, and I don't want to comment on, other companies and what they should do.
Right.
But the only point here is that we'd be able to vaccinate that many more people and have the coverage going up. Obviously, if the prices are lower, based on the budgets that we have and the huge population that we need to cover, That's all I will say, and that's obvious. So
Yeah.
I hope that the manufacturers and foreign manufacturers can lower their prices for countries like India, which have a huge disease burden in terms of, in the population to cover. And also that will help the budgets for our country.
Yeah. Let's talk about Novavax a little bit now. Nasal, right?
No,
it's not nasal. What's the nasal one?
Covishield.
And that's also something you're looking at, right?
That will be licensed in a year, because that's starting phase 1 trials in the UK at the end of this month. The Novavax product is is a protein-based subunit protein vaccine, and with a very powerful adjuvant, which will also give a good long-term response. And we have plans of scaling that up by May, June of this year and launching it, in the next 6 months.
So you have bridging trials on as well about
Yes.
that. That's not started yet.
No, that will start in India in the next month or two.
And how big would those trials be?
Again, similar size to what we did for the Oxford AstraZeneca product, because they're doing very large phase 3 studies overseas. We will do efficacy studies for some of our Indian indigenously developed vaccines later on, like the RBD one also, which we've got in partnership with the.
So how many do you have now?
4 in total. We're not going to take on any more, because then we've got our hands full already.
So when would you know efficacy of Novavax? When?
End of January, early February. That's when they're unblinding the global trial, so within a month from today. And as I said, based on that, we'll do a bridging study, and we'll be ready in May, June of this year with a licensed product.
And how much would that cost?
Oh, that's going to probably be double the price of the Oxford AstraZeneca product. We're going to export that to the higher income countries, because this Oxford product will take care of the lower income countries and split it that way.
And it'll be available in India as well?
We'll see if it is, and if it's required to be available, because we don't need to launch multiple vaccines in India. We need to cover different parts of the globe, and if the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has got a high efficacy and working well, we probably don't need to launch that one in India right now, maybe in a year's time.
What about the other two? The nasal one was was interesting. We've spoken about it earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a live attenuated vaccine.
It's easy to administer.
Yes, nasal again is very easy to administer, and will be probably a one-shot vaccine with a very long-term immune response that we feel that it'll have, because all the live attenuated vaccines are generally more powerful in terms of getting an immune response.
And when did you say end of the year, right?
Yeah, I would say first quarter 2022 is when that's the last vaccine that we're going to license.
Right. So that's the last. Novavax is after this one, Covishield,
and then
what's in between?
Quarter 3 is what we're expecting, the RBD candidate, which is based on the hepatitis B protein, which has the COVID-19.
Where's that being developed?
That is, in partnership with Spy Biotech. It's a spin-off group of the Oxford scientists.
I see.
And we're doing that in partnership with them.
And again, would that be potentially sold in India?
Yes, again, possibly, if required, because, we've got so much capacity of the Oxford AstraZeneca one, it probably wouldn't make sense to launch multiple vaccines in India. This would again help other parts of the world. And, this vaccine could be launched in India for the younger population.
Okay.
Because this vaccine will probably be the safest one to also give under 18, going all the way down to the age of 4. So that's what we're planning to do with this one. So yes, it'll have a unique advantage. Not to say that the Oxford AstraZeneca can't be given to children and young adults, but we still have to do the trials for that to see that it's safe to give it to.
And how much would this cost?
Again, this would be also reasonable.
Do we have a name for it? No. As yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's still under development, so we'll assign a brand name for it soon.
And this will be in the same ballpark as this? All right. So exciting times. 4, right? Vaccines. One is already out, and it's great, isn't it? 16th is the date. You've been waiting for this for a long time. Is that when you're going to get your shot as well, or how is it going to work for you?
Well, I'll post my picture of my shot and video very soon. We were just waiting for the appropriate protocols to be followed. So maybe tomorrow or the day after.
All right. Tomorrow or day after, that's when Adar gets his dose. But It's going to be out, distributed across the country sooner than later on the 16th onwards. And this brings a great deal of hope. 2020 has been disastrous for people all around the world. Hopefully that sense of hope in 2021 will mean more people will have their lives saved. The scientific process behind the manufacture of Covishield is very, very extensive. The process of the Serum Institute interacting with scientists from Oxford and AstraZeneca in actually getting the technology, the ability, the know-how to replicate the drug over here and mass disseminate it is not easy. And to mass disseminate it at the scale that Serum has been trying to do or wants to do is something that requires a big effort. Now, joining us perhaps the best guest to talk about that entire process, Dr. Suresh Jadhav is the Executive Director over here at the Serum Institute. When did it all start, your conversations with the Oxford scientists? What did they say?
See, our relationship Oxford has started 5 years before. It was not for COVID because COVID was non-existent at that time.
Right.
But we started talking to them for making malaria vaccine, and that malaria vaccine has been made. And it has already completed phase 1, phase 2 studies, and it is just entering into the phase 3 in Burkina Faso in a very short time. So we were very familiar with the scientists, particularly Professor Adrian Hill, Sarah Gilbert. And when the COVID struck, that was the time Oxford realized that they had made a vaccine of the similar virus, that was MERS and SARS. About 4 years back, MERS was there, 9 years back SARS was there, and they had made a vaccine. But for the good of the mankind, both these SARS and MERS, they came and they just vanished after about 8 months, 9 months, and there was no requirement of the vaccine.
Right.
But the technology was developed, the backbone was there, and they used the same technology was they used for SARS and MERS because the COVID-19 belongs to the same family. And when they realized that they can make it, the moment the news came from Wuhan in the November, December that some disease is coming where there is a pneumonia which looks like SARS and MERS, and when the sequence was published by WHO, they said, oh, this is the product which they can make, and they started working on it.
Yeah.
And by March end or beginning of April, the product was already ready with them.
Yeah.
But they have got a small lab, just a pilot scale lab where they can make only few hundred or maximum up to 1,000 doses. So they wanted our help to make that scale to the pilot scale and to a large scale production. That's how our natural corollary because of our previous experience.
Right.
As you know that Serum today makes almost about 1.6 billion doses of vaccine.
Yeah.
25 different vaccines which are WHO pre-qualified, which are supplied to almost 170 countries, which includes all kind of vaccine, the bacterial vaccines, the measles, the viral vaccines, recombinant vaccines, and therefore this particular technology was not at all difficult to us. We are using such technology for our other products. So it became very easy for us to get and translate that into actual process here.
I must ask you, when were you most relieved, or are you going to be relieved when it's finally administered to people in the country, or were you relieved when the first trucks started going out?
No.
In fact, we've got a couple of these trucks out here as well. These are the trucks which are actually refrigerated trucks. Are they actually taking Covishield
they
out?
will be. They will be.
Oh, they will be taking Covishield out. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So when will you be most relieved?
No, see, I am already relieved because the moment this product was used in the preclinical studies in the animals and those results were positive, means very good, and we went into phase 1 studies and saw that there is absolutely no serious reactions, mild reactions, and that was anticipated for any injection.
And so you knew then that it would work?
It will work.
So the question then was, how well would it
How well it will work.
Right.
So that of course confidence we got when we started getting results from the phase 3 studies, and we started analyzing those patients and seeing their titers.
Right.
And some of the titers which they exceeded 90%,
Yeah.
then that kind of efficacy I thought is more than
Absolutely
required. Yeah.
But therein lies that big question: when will it be 90%? That depends on how it's staggered, the doses,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. See, what happened is that in the clinical trial that we have done, not only in India, but AstraZeneca has done it in Brazil, South Africa, US and UK. The stagnation has happened because of various reasons, but the stagnation has happened from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. And what they have seen is that even if there is a difference of 4 weeks, you get good protection, but that gets varied between 70 to 80%. But if the difference of the gap is increased further up to say 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks, then that titers what you are getting are much higher.
But then in India, it's 28 days is the recommendation, isn't it?
Yeah, because the clinical trial which was conducted in phase 3 here was conducted with a gap of 28 days, the gap between 2 doses.
Right.
Yeah.
But isn't there also logic that if you take the second dose faster, at least you will get that 70% guarantee that it's working?
Yes, that it will certainly work with that 4 weeks. But if you want little longer lasting and the higher titers, it's better to take it after 6 to 8 weeks.
And so a final question, what about the half dose, one dose combination? Now that's not been addressed over here in India.
No.
However, in the future it might be.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. No, but I
But
think...
what is the science there?
I think
is
the
it robust at the moment, the dosing combination?
Yeah.
Or is it trial hit and miss?
No, that was like trial and hit miss because they did not realize, they did not deliberately go for half dose and full dose.
Right.
It happened because of one of the analytical method which was determining the potency of that particular product.
Right.
Where by one method it was showing say X, by second method it was showing X plus 2.
Right, right.
That's why they thought that okay, if you can reduce, give it half, or by colorally where it has shown little higher, that full dose has gone in certain people, and where it has shown half, that dose has gone into some people. Yeah.
Fascinating, sir. Lovely talking to you. Congratulations for helping to get that drug out over here in India in these numbers and at that safety level, that quality. That's going to save countless lives. You must feel very good that
absolutely,
that ultimately that's what it's about, saving lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Thank you, sir.
Thank
well,
you.
there you have it. A look at the process of manufacture here at the Serum Institute of India. As I've mentioned before, the scale is truly incredible, but the science is important as well. More than anything else, it's the quality of manufacture of vaccines which will determine how effective it is. And all of this needs to come together in a finite period of time, not just for people here in India, but for people around the world. We are inside the Serum Institute of India in Pune, and this is the area where Covishield, the vaccine which will actually save any number of lives, is being manufactured. We're going to actually speak to Mr. Bapi Raju, who's a key part of the process over here, as we go through this hallway, looking inside to give you an idea of what exactly the process is all about. Come, sir. So what is this first step over here?
First step happens for the all machine components, formulation required aseptic components are get washed here.
Right.
And then goes for automatic component washing.
Right.
And then unloaded into the
Right.
metal prep area.
Right. And how many steps are there in this process?
So we have majorly we can segregate for 5 steps.
Right.
Starting from metal preparation, washing, metal preparation, and then sterilization of this. So sterilization happens in autoclave.
Right.
At 142 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes.
And it's the sterilization of the drug you're talking about, right?
This is sterilization of components.
Of the components?
Yes.
And what components would these be, for example?
These are like stoppers, caps.
And what happens over here?
Yeah, this is actually sterilization. We have 2 sterilizers in place.
Right.
So one for dedicated for caps and stoppers.
Right.
And another one for regular material.
So let's have these shots over here of the sterilization plant. All right. Yes. So these are the various components where that sterilization actually takes place. And you were telling me something fascinating, that when you do ultimately manufacture the drug itself, put it in a vial, you do 500 vials in a minute. 500 vials a minute. So, I mean, the number, and in a day, how much would that be?
So it would be 2.4 lakh vials, so equivalent to 2.4 million doses.
And each vial is 10 doses, right?
Each vial is 10.
And what are these over here? What?
So
Right.
these can accommodate caps and stoppers. We have a dedicated stopper holding tank and the caps holding tanks.
Okay.
So it would be good, you would have to focus more over there, how the processing happens, and then the sterile material will be unloaded automatically.
Right, right. And as we go down over here, what is next that we're going to see?
So the next step will be having formulation. All the sterile components are ready, and the formulation is in progress.
The formulation is in progress.
Yes.
All right. And so this is this is called the blending area.
Blending area, wherein formulation happens inside.
And again, just for the benefit of our viewers, what do you mean by blending area? I mean, the various drugs come in, right?
Yeah, we have a concentrated drug substance coming from the upstream area, and it is purified and ready for formulation.
Okay.
So we dilute it with the formulation buffers and do our batch size, and our batch size is 1500 liters per each batch, and it caters for 2.4 million doses.
Right. And then as you go on, what are some of these other, this huge tank over here that we see?
This is the formulation tank wherein all the drug substance formulation. So in a sequential manner, formulation buffers will be added, and different in-process tests will be done, and then it will be ready for the filling.
Okay, so this is the final stage before filling actually takes place.
Exactly.
So the concentrated drug is, the refined drug, Covishield, is over here. Yes. And it's from here that it actually goes into the vials, right?
In the diluted form and doses, single human dose form. It will be manufactured, make up the volume to batch size.
Right. And we can't actually see it, but this is a huge tank over here. It's quite large.
Yes.
Right. And and this is the tank in which...
So we have similar kind of three formulation suits, and this is one of them.
Right. So three formulation areas where Covishield is put together. Yes. In the form in which people across the country and world will be using it before it's put into a vial, right? Okay.
And now we are moving ahead to the isolator filling line.
Right.
So wherein the final product filling happens.
Right. And how automated is the process? Or I mean, there would be obviously your experts inside supervising, but the process itself is entirely automated, right?
So, this is a fully automated line. We have to load the vials and collect the vials another way around for the screening. So there are no manual interventions except loading of vials and collecting in the screening process.
And this is where it actually happens.
So the vial washing happens here.
The vial washing?
Yes.
The washing of the vial before it is...
going for filling.
Right.
So vial washing happens here, and then there is depyrogenation happens to vials. So the vials have been heated to 305 degrees Celsius and bring down the temperature to 24 prior to entering the isolator.
Okay. And what is the isolator?
So this is the isolator. Actual filling starts here.
Okay. In these areas, right? Right.
So isolator filling starts here, and I explained earlier all the key sterile material will be loaded here.
Right.
And now the status is the preparation of isolator for VHP cycle.
What cycle is that? Could you explain that?
So it's a biodecontamination cycle.
It's a biodecontamination. Right. And so this marks the end of the process. And once the drug is produced over here, what happens next? It goes from this facility to another facility for storage, right?
Yes. So the filling, once the BHP completes, our isolator...
And BHP stands for?
Vaporized hydrogen peroxide.
Right.
So this is the decontamination unit used for biodecontamination of isolator. All the surface contacts will be thoroughly decontaminated, and then actual filling process starts with the aseptic components of sterile vials, sterilized stoppers, and the ready for fill.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's a quick look, as quick as possible, into the process in which Covishield is actually manufactured. Remember, it's this facility and all these steps that involve the actual production and the filling of the drug, of the vaccine, to the highest possible standards, ensuring that it's safe, it's sanitized, and it is ready for use. That makes this transportable not just to India, but ultimately around the world as well. So this is where, when we keep talking about Covishield, this is where it's all happening. What you actually have over here is a very interesting process. This is the absolute final step before Covishield is sent out and it's packaged and then sent all over the world. This is where there is an automated system which actually accepts each vial or rejects a vial if there are certain deficiencies which are found. So what would these deficiencies potentially be?
So these might be some cosmetic, any particulate or any crimping defects. So these has been continuously monitored during process. We have 26 cameras installed on the visual inspection machine, and they transit while saying 500 vials per minute. So any ejects has been taken out and then rejected further. Only good vials has been sent for the packing and manufacturing further processing steps.
All right, thank you very much. So there you have it. Quality control, which when it comes to a drug which is meant to be saving lives, is absolutely essential, so that what you get actually delivers to that efficacy number which has been promised. One of the most impressive aspects of the Serum Institute of India is the scale of the campus itself. In fact, it's not one campus, it's quite a few. The total acreage, approximately 100 acres. Think about it, 100 acres and several facilities dedicated to building vaccines, manufacturing vaccines that saves lives around the world. Joining us now, Umesh Kshirsavkar is the Deputy Director of the Serum Institute. Thanks very much for being with us. We are in this fabulous facility, but this area is about the future, in a sense, of the SII. How are you going to be scaling up manufacturing in the area that we are at?
Yeah, thanks Mr. Vishnu. We are into the facility we call Manjari facility, where the MSZ is being built for the various projects. So now we are looking with the facility which is specifically built for the upcoming any pandemic, so we can produce a vaccine in short span of time. So you can see the many areas as like MSZ1, MSZ2, 3, where the existing facilities are being milled and at the various stage of qualifications. And on the right side of you can see the new building which is upcoming for the huge campus, which is one floor is around
for pandemics, right?
Yeah, this is for the pandemic.
This is interesting. Let the camera pan over here, because this is a facility which you were mentioning, and that this is so important. When we talk about pandemics, everybody talks now about COVID, but this facility will help design vaccines or produce vaccines for any pandemic.
See, this facility is having a ground plus 4 floor, which is itself is independent for the starting from the incoming material till the finished goods dispatches. So each floor has its own design to cater for the all requirement. Even we can manufacture the bulk over here. When I say bulk, it is a drug substance, and even we can containerize, like that is a DP, drug product. So we make drug products. Even there is a facility which is being made for the packaging and dispatches. So everything will be done independently into this building. So G+4 are catered for the warehouse, manufacturing of various bulks. Like if suppose there is a pandemic which we have to handle the very high category of virus or bacteria, then the design is made to cater that also.
Right. And I noticed that they are all called SEZs, many of these areas, special economic zones. Is that because of benefits that you get because a large amount of what you produce is actually meant for export?
Yeah. If you see the current dispatches, we are catering to the almost more than 160 countries. All the type of vaccine which it is not only for India, so we are exporting to the majority of the countries. So that gets the benefit of special economic zone which government is providing. So we developed this area also as a SEZ. We called the Hadapsar, which we have seen earlier, is a SEZ, and this is MSEZ. It's a Manjri SEZ area.
One final question. Isn't it amazing what once began as a stud farm and a business associated with that is now a business of saving lives all over the world? And at what scale?
See, if you see the scale of manufacturing, currently we are manufacturing for the Covishield, it is around 2.4 million doses a day, which is catering from a single line. And now we are putting up, or at the various stage of installation, commissioning, qualification, there are another 6 to 7 lines which are under commissioning. So you can see, you can imagine, even with the 2.4 millions a day into the 6. So that will be the scale which we are going to produce in the upcoming future.
Wonderful speaking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, an idea of the scale of the Serum Institute, and that really needs to be stressed over and over again. There is no company, no vaccine manufacturer which manufactures this number of doses every single day, every single year, and that's something that's being ramped up, and that's tremendous, not just for COVID, but indeed for any other pandemic which may emerge.